is a big chunk of time. That's not been through slow zones and safety cars. That's just generally, you know, lost through traffic and general running. So, yeah, Buemi putting in an absolute blinder of a stint at the moment. But so's Mark Lieb.
So the RGR Moran team are getting ready for a pit stop. The 41 Ligier, that's the Greaves Motorsport car, has worked its way up into the top 6. And Memo Rojas has just come in to change to Julian Canal. We're on board with the leader, though, in LMP2. Stefan Richelmy, the 36 Alpine Nissan, run by Signatech. And that car just in front of us, I believe that is the race performance car, the 33 just in front of us.
Looks that way, yeah. Diving up the inside as he comes down into the Ford chicane.
Yeah. It's only taken me 18 hours to learn them all now. Only took me 18 hours. So Buemi, Conway, Lieb, Duval, Fesla is the order in the LMP1s. And the LMP2s, it is the Signatech Alpine, Stefan Richelmy leading the G-Driver Raycap and the SMP Racing BR Engineering car. The Stracker is 4th. Tristan Gomedy in the 33. Eurasia car is in 5th position. Fair play to them. They've been getting on with things very quietly, and they popped themselves up into a very strong top 6, almost unnoticed. And then the Greaves Ligier is up into 6th position. In the pro category, that penalty for Ford has really cost them a lot. Malucelli is now 35 seconds clear of Dirk Muller in the second Ford. The third place man is Westbrook in the 69 Ford. So both the Chip Ganassi USA cars are still up the front. Stefan Muka is recovering just behind the Aston Martin of Marco Sorensen, who's there in 4th position overall now. And the second Aston, the 97 of Johnny Adam, has moved into the top 6. So Aston Martin may not have had the 1-lap pace, but over the course of 24 hours, it's still a very reliable machine.
No, they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. You know, I don't think they thought they had the pace to win this race from the outset. Talking to the engineers down there on Friday, it was very clear that they were here to collect a bag full of points. And that's exactly what they're doing. You know, at this moment in time, they're just hammering it in, making sure that this double points WEC round, they take the points away from it, they can go away, look at it, understand where they are, hope that the balanced performance comes further back towards them after Le Mans, and then they can go and get the job done.
You need to wake up now, lad. That's what that is. Thank you. Thanks for waking me up. I was looking a bit embarrassing on there. Reynard Gelderblom on Twitter. Looking at the pit crews, do they work in specific shifts like you commentators do, or do they just sleep whenever they get a gap?
Somebody told me earlier in the week that Audi have actually got 8-hour shifts going on. I've not asked Audi themselves, but I'd be surprised. Toyota certainly don't. I know that, and then, you know, the smaller teams absolutely do not. They don't have the resource to do that. But yeah, there is a rumour floating around that Audi are on 3 8-hour shifts.
And one more for the moment on Twitter as we continue to get deep into the action. We've just started the final WEC race of the Le Mans 24 hours, the final 6 hours. Deepak Ramdas 1 on Twitter. The Audi's pace has increased. Do LMP1s have the ability to turn the engine power up to maximum or lower to conserve various different engine modes?
Yes, they do. Yeah, absolutely, they do. So they can go into fuel-saving maps. They can use a little bit more energy from the battery in certain rev ranges. There's lots of ways where they can save fuel or use a bit more to get a bit more power. The Toyota used to have, and I'm sure still does have, a boost button, which is just to give them that little bit of overtake. You know, if they've got a very short straight and they just want to use a bit more power, they can hit that button and it's like DRS in Formula 1, I guess. They get past. But no, it will be, again, interesting to see how this plays out with fuel saving, because there will be a lot of that going on towards the end, and you can lift and coast in these cars very effectively. We hear it in Formula 1, lift and coast, lift and coast. So you're coming into the braking zone 200 yards before the braking zone, you're coming off the accelerator, just blending out of the throttle, and the amount of downforce these cars have got, the cars do start to slow very quickly, just through the downforce they've got on the drag. So the car will then be saving an awful lot of fuel on the overrun before they get on the brakes and then come out the corner.
Mechanics sleeping through happy hour. Nice little montage. You just know there's going to be some cheesy music put under that, and another YouTube video will be made by somebody somewhere, bless them.
5 hours, 57 minutes to go. So we've got one WEC race left.
And Toyota leads by 31.4 seconds to Toyota. It's a 1-2. but we've been here before. Toyota have led the Le Mans 24 Hours with a comfortable margin. 30 seconds, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Buemi continues to stretch the lead, though, up to 32 seconds now. We're on lap 84, so we're still a little way away from a stop from either of those Toyotas.
6 hours to go. Toyota, Porsche, and the 2 Audis. One is only a lap down. It's still a 3-horse race for the moment, we think. The Alpine Nissan leading, the Oreca in second, the BR Engineering in third. 3 different LMP2 manufacturers in the top 3. I'm surprised pleasantly by that fact. It's very good to see. The GTE Pro category race still led by Ferrari, but Ford are not done yet. They're punching very high in second and third position. Aston Martin slowly starting to come back into it, splitting the third Ford in 4th and 6th position, while the leader in GTM is still the Scuderia Corsa Ferrari, with Sweedler at the lead of the car at the moment. Kubaisi in the Abu Dhabi Porsche is there in second, and Perodo has brought the 83 Ferrari back from the brink in the AF Corsa Ferrari. Let's look through the field to the retirements. We still have 50 cars of the 60 starters running the race at least. That's pretty impressive, but then we look to the retirements and there are some big names. The Bicolis car, one of the Chevys, the 2 Works Porsches in the GTE class, the 2 Works Ferraris in the GTE class category for AF Corsa. Some big names have fallen.
Absolutely, no, and to see those 2 AF cars out is a big shock for me, and that's a real big hit on the WEC campaigns. So Ferrari, the new 488 will be on the back foot now as they move through the rest of the season. We've got our 2 GTE Pro leaders just gone into the pits. Malacelli in the 488 in the Risi competition car has actually left the pit lane now. That was just a straight service, no tyres, and Dirk Müller has managed to same within a second on the pit stop time, and actually slightly quicker on his in-lap. So Müller 34 seconds behind as it stands. Westbrook will be owing us a stop. Yeah, Westbrook will be owing us a stop very shortly.
We talk about the last time Ford won the Le Mans 24 Hours overall, being 1969. It's quite startling when you actually sit back and remember that the last time a Ferrari won the Le Mans 24 Hours overall was 51 years ago, 1965. Wow. You automatically assume it's Ferrari. They must have dominated at some point during the 70s or the 80s, but once we got into the 70s and the 917s were starting to make their way through, then Matra were a strong force. Then we had the Renault come through in 1978, and then we got to the 80s, and anybody who was not in a Porsche 956 was going to have a very sorry time indeed. So Ferrari haven't won the Le Mans 24 Hours overall. They've won classes so many times, but they've not won the overall Le Mans 24 Hours for 51 years. That is astonishing. Any guesses on the drivers? Maston Gregory and the late, great Jochen Rindt.
The thing that's going to be very sweet for Toyota as things stand is, if they do this, they've beaten Porsche. Porsche are the most successful manufacturer here at Le Mans.
Well, not only have they beaten Porsche, they've beaten Audi. The 2 biggest names in Le Mans sports car racing. They've come so close so many times, Toyota. They've had so many factory efforts. We look back to the late 80s and 90s in the Group C1 days, with the Toms manufacturer, the Toms team running their operation. The GT1 in 1998 and 99, that car was so impressive, so nearly won in 99, could easily have won in 1998. They've been doing an absolutely cracking job since they re-entered the FIA World Endurance Championship in 2013. Someone's going to correct me, I'm sure. I think it's 2013.
So, yep.
So close in 2014. They could easily and should easily have won that one. But this time, fingers crossed, touch wood, lucky rabbit's foot, whatever you want. They're 1 and 2, separated by half a minute.
Alpine with a problem with the wheel gun. So that's our leading LMP2 car. Just bringing out the spare gun now, which isn't on the boom that you see normally going around the car. So normally the guy can run all the way around the car with this swiveling arm you see above the car. So you can do a full lap, and now they're struggling to get to the front wheel to make the change. Not a massive panic. They've got a good gap. but they won't want to be losing silly time like this in pits with a wheel gun problem.
And it's still tough as well because the mechanics are tired, they're exhausted. You can't really think straight when you're that nuts.
You can see that in their body language now. You can see that it's, you know, earlier on in the race there wouldn't have been so much panic.
You're not quite sure where you are, you're sleep deprived, you're not thinking clearly, you're not even seeing clearly sometimes in this. It really does mess with your head being up this long. I mean, okay, the 3 hours sleep we had last night, but like most of the teams, we've been up since 8 o'clock yesterday morning, so it's difficult. You do have to push yourself. You have to figure out exactly what your body can and can't do. And for the mechanics, it's impossible to get it right sometimes because you really have to stretch your physical agility, your mental agility. You have to be a bit of a strategist. You also have to be quite physical. It's tough changing tyres. You know, it really is a physically demanding task in the pits. Everybody looks at it and goes, oh, that looks easy. It's really difficult. You have to be very strong to get it done quickly.
They do, you know, these guys are very well trained. I'm sure that the teams are rotating people through wheelman and wheel feeder, but you know, they've got to, just to try and keep people fresh, keep people awake, keep people alert. But yeah, normally you would see a lot of calm going on around an incident like that. There was a bit of panic there in the Alpine garage as they were running back to get the gun. The guy was trying to get it off the lance. They should have, that would have been something that they've drilled before. Gun failure, bang, right, go. So yeah, surprised to see them running around like that, but then they've been up for an awfully long time now.
The most finishes of the Le Mans 24 hours was in 2013 at 42. We've still got 50 going as Gert is down in the pits.
Stéphane Richelmy, it was a good stint for you. It's of course your first Le Mans here with Sunday morning, and everything is going quite well. Well, what was the biggest difficulty you've had during the night?
Actually, I was quite lucky because I could sleep some hours this night because Nico did the nice stint because for sure he has more experience. He did a really good job because I took the car in P1 with some margin. So for me, the key was just to stay on track, have a good rhythm, and not to make any mistakes with the traffic.
Still 6 hours to go, of course. Is there any time to let up a bit to try and save the car a bit?
Yeah, it's still a really long way because it's a 6 hour race. We have some margin, but we cannot slow down too much, otherwise we will lose the momentum and the focus. So I think we'll just take less the curves and push a bit less, and we'll see in the end.
Okay, thank you.
We just saw Chris Cummings spin around at the exit of the Porsche curves. Bit of a scary moment.
Every time we see those ESM cars, they seem to be pointing the wrong way around a gravel track.
It's a bit of a crazy day at the office for them. Now, we were talking about this being the most amount of cars there's ever been in the Le Mans 24 hours, and it is. 60 cars is the most, but it has been done before. In 1950, 51, 53, and 55, there were 60 cars on the grid. So this is only the 5th time there's been that many. And this could break the record for the amount of finishers we've had, because 42 cars crossed the line in 2013, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's not really fair, though. There was only 56 starters, so...
yes and no. You still had 14 cars retire. We've only had 10 cars retire so far.
Let's see.
It's possible. It's possible. Lowest amount of finishers? Do you want to have a guess?
It's going to be something like 10.
6, would you believe?
Wow.
6, back in 1931. Yeah, only 6 cars came home in the Le Mans 24 hours.
How many cars started?
I would say about 2 dozen. I'd say about 2 dozen, 24. The lowest amount of starters was in 1930, the year before, and that was only 17. Only 17 cars started, so it's amazing how this race has evolved over the years. The most safety cars in a single race, that was 3 years ago. 12 appearances.
Yeah, that was a bit of a crazy race.
We actually spent 5.5 hours nearly behind the safety car.
That was a very sad day, though, and there was a lot of safety concerns around what had gone on, and we lost a great driver that day, so yeah, understandable.
The highest attendance list in history, that classic 1969 race. 400,000 people were here. Looking at the way this battle is shaping up between Toyota, Porsche and Audi this year, what's the betting next year? We could be going for that sort of figure again. There is a bit of a culture shift at the moment between Formula One and the sports car scene. A lot more Formula One fans are deciding, do you know what? It's not good enough anymore. Sports cars, that's where it's at again. And after this race, it's going to be hard to find an argument to prove them wrong.
Yeah, Bernie isn't going to be very pleased. Schedule Baku against this back-to-back.
It's the worst possible.
Which is the best race. Which is the best race so far. I suspect that we're not going to see. We'll see a closer finish here than you're going to see after an hour and a half of racing in Baku. I think we'll have a closer finish here.
That's a good shout, actually.
So just looking at the leaderboard again, and Seb Boemi now really stretching his legs and opening that gap, just waiting for the car to come through. Conway 31 seconds, so the gap has stopped opening to Conway. Lieb is coming through the final sector now. Just trying to see where Lieb is. Pegasus car getting awfully in the way of the GTE Pro lead car there. Sorry, the second place car, the Dirk Muller on board. As they come through in front of us, just waiting for the gap. So Lieb comes through further 15 seconds behind Conway.
Matt Shorter asks, how many female drivers are participating this year? That's an easy one, just 2. Ines Tattinger and Christina Nielsen. And they become, well, they could still become the 58th and 59th women to finish the race.
Yeah.
They're doing an absolutely cracking job, both of them. The cars are running okay. The number 60 Ferrari is 9th in the GTE AM category, and Ines Tattinger in the Pegasus. They're outside the top 25, but they're still going.
Yeah,
They're still going.
I mean, Ford GT, going back to one of the comments you were making last night, there was an all-girl crew in the Ford GT. Cindy Alleman,
there was.
Natasha Gashnang, and...
Go on, you're doing so well.
I do know who it is. And she still races. She's still on an Audi contract, and she's very quick.
Who have you said so far?
Cindy Alleman, Natasha Gashnang, and...
Come on, you can get there. DTM recently.
Yeah, she's a very quick young Audi protege. No, brain's gone. Been up for too long.
Ray Alfrey.
Yeah, so they didn't finish, though, I don't think, those guys.
No, they didn't. In fact, an all-female crew hasn't finished the Le Mans 24 Hours since 1977, and that was Christine Beckers and the late, great Lella Lombardi.
Yeah, okay.
In the Altera, the LM77. The most starts by a woman, and Charlotte Venet. She started 10 times. The most successful, in terms of finishing well, Marie-Claude Beaumont in the early 70s. She won her class twice in 6 starts. So can women handle Le Mans? Yes, they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's anything there to stop a woman coming here and doing very well. I don't think there's anything to stop a woman coming here and driving a P1 car every bit as quickly. It's just about the number of women coming into the sport. We need more women coming into the sport at the age of 8 who then get the numbers up, and you'll start to see far more people out there, far more women out there at the top level. So, you know, there's many people that want to prove that, and there is some good young female talent coming through now, and Christina Nielsen really the first one here showing what they can really do. And you know, she's champion last year, she's leading GTD over in the IMSA series this year, and she's done a fantastic job so far. This is her second year here at Le Mans. She did do the Aston Martin Challenge race here last year to get her foot in the toe in the water, but let's see where she is at the end.
There are 2 or 3 women in both the Ferrari Challenge race and the Road to Le Mans Cup earlier before this race started as well. So it's still a very strong presence. It's getting more equal is the right answer. It's not equal, but it's getting more equal. And what's the betting? Catherine Legg could become the 60th woman to compete at the Le Mans 24 Hours next year. Could happen.
I hope so. It would be nice to see her in a factory seat, and I think she's starting to prove that she's more than capable of that. She had a factory Audi drive for quite a long time alongside Susie Stoddart, now Susie Wolff, Catherine at Audi and Susie at Mercedes, but you know, Catherine, without any shadow of a doubt, has got the talent. And yeah, anybody who watched that first couple of hours at Daytona this year, well, she answered the critics.
Jake Robson, which race so far this year has been better? The Nürburgring 24, the Daytona 24, or the Le Mans 24? It's a tough one, but I am going to go with the Le Mans 24.
Well, let's see. Let's wait for the end.
At the moment
it's the Le Mans 24, but Daytona was a pretty good race.
It was darn good, to be fair.
Yeah.
And that was, again, a race where there was about half a dozen cars on the grid that could have won it, and it ended up coming down pretty much to the last 3-4 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And we lost some of the lead runners early on. Again, talking about Catherine Legg there.
Number 7 Audi in the pits, having already seen the number 8
Going
Audi.
back into the box.
Oh,
So
not again.
Are they going to try something? Is this another, right, let's make a change and see what it does. See if
it brings the 8 back on the lead lap, yeah.
You know, so don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Remember, they've been playing under the nose with brake ducts quite a lot now. This will be the third time we'll have seen them go under the nose. Just trying to see. They are taking the rear deck off, but that's the front off. I'd like to stay with that shot. Well, we'll come back to that and we'll see where they are and see if they're doing, as I suspect, more brake duct tweaking. I think we're in for a warm day today here. So if they have been running with those ducts semi-blanked or completely blanked, there may be the need to now remove that tape and race the thing with maximum brake cooling.
Who's the fastest car on track right now? Mark Lieb in the Porsche. 324.0 the last time round. The Toyotas are on the 326 and 325 mark. So the Porsche team are trying to come back in it. They're not done yet, nor is the Audi. And that car is actually going faster than both the Toyotas as well. Toyota are in conservation mode, it seems, at the moment. 326.6 for Buemi, 325.9 for Conway, 324.0 for Lieb, and a 324.7 for Duval. They are doing everything they can. The German might is not done.
Closest battle on track right now, though, is Johnny Kane, just about to take 3rd place in the LMP2 class away from Victor Scheitar. He's now down to 1.6 seconds behind, having just set a green sector time. So Straka Gibson about to overtake SMP BR01. It would seem. Johnny now 1.5 seconds through the 2nd sector. So no, Johnny's really pushing on. He wants to get that Gibson up onto the bottom step of the podium.
I want to pick that up as well, because on the last lap he was 1.7 seconds quicker than the BR Engineering machine. So that would be an interesting battle to watch out on circuit, and it is the closest for the podium. We're looking.
Here it is. Johnny's
Just
been told to push.
Right on cue. The BR Engineering Nissan.
Here we go. Johnny's
Gibson Nissan.
The BR01's tucked up behind some traffic as we come out. So one of the that's the Clearwater Racing, no Formula Racing Ferrari 488. So yeah, here we go. Johnny not got the same straight line pace as that BR01 though, has he? The BR01's very slippery through the air.
Toyota in. That's Conway. Conway pits in the number 6. Now, is that on schedule? Is that to plan?
And if the guys down in the pit lane can get to the number 7, I'm keen to understand what's going on with the number 7. I know it's not in the race for the win, but we need to understand whether that's a reliability woe or if that's them playing with the settings on that car to further develop the pace of the number 8. So if either of our guys down there can go and find out, please do.
So Conway leading the top 4 into the pits window. Here comes Johnny Kane. He's gonna get Scheitar in the slipstream, but the straight line speed advantage of the BR Engineering could tell here. Johnny Kane is not going to matter about it. He's going for it up the inside of the chicane.
Yeah, he had to wait for the braking zone there, though.
Oh, so close, but he gets it done.
BR has to take avoiding action, which was silly of it on his part. He didn't need to do that, but
yeah, there's 5 hours and 40 minutes left. Why don't you just let him go?
What was pretty interesting there, though, was the fact that Johnny couldn't pull out until he was in the braking zone. So the BR Engineering car much quicker in a straight line, and I suspect we'll see Scheitar trying to have a go back at him.
Scary moment as Conway rejoins the circuit in the Toyota and almost gets sideswiped by the Ferrari AF Corsa machine. That is the 63, I think. No, so it's the 83. Sorry, that was a scary moment on the radio. 4 hours and 40 minutes.
Till rain, did he say?
I think he did say rain. Oh, sorry. From a spectator's point of view, I'm already rubbing my hands with glee because we've already had enough drama and action to fill an entire season. Rain thrown into the mix as well. Wow, that'll just send this race nuclear. It's already fever pitch. I think he did say rain.
No
I think
rain
you're right.
on the satellite or on the forecast.
Okay, well maybe the Toyota weathermen have a different opinion to us, or maybe we misheard it.
They aren't very good at weather. I remember young Mr. Hamilton winning a race because of it.
That's
a world championship because of it.
That's very true, yes. And all sorts of conspiracy theories. Did they do it on purpose? Of course they bloody didn't.
So Johnny Kane now goes through in a and the new fastest lap for that time last time round, and I suspect we've got a green sector 2 for Johnny. Sarthe losing 3 seconds to him in that middle sector. So yeah, the Gibson now on the podium. So we've got Orica Gibson BR01.
Here's a stat I don't have to hand from Jeff GMJ. How many marshals are around the track? Try a couple of thousand.
There's a lot of Brits over here, an awful lot of British marshals up and down the pit lane and out on in the tribunes. So yeah, no, we should thank
well, considering
those guys.
In front of us, I can count at least 20, and that's on one corner. So you multiply that by 8.4 miles, it's got to be in the 1,000 mark.
There's an awful lot, and the logistics of managing those guys is mammoth.
In terms of WEC, asks Charles Bosch, and since Porsche recently bought the track, do you see Kyalami hosting around in the future? Could be.
I'd heard a rumour that it may well happen, but we'll see. It would be nice to get down into South America. Sorry,
South Africa.
South Africa.
For me personally, a World Championship isn't a World Championship unless you're on all 6 continents. I've always been a big believer in that, so that's why I used to love it when the World Rally Championship used to go to the Safari Rally in Kenya. They don't do so anymore, unfortunately, and even the World Touring Car Championship goes to Morocco every year. So it'd be great to see if we could have not just WEC, but Formula One as well, going to an African country. I think that'd be amazing. Out of the pits goes the Toyota.
Shaitar and Kane pit together.
So we've had the race on the track. Now we're going to have the race in the pits. As out of the pits gets Buemi, and he still leads his sister car. They pretty much, to the second, had exactly the same length of pit stop there.
Rast pits as well, so that's second, third and fourth, all getting in the P2 class, all pitting on the same lap. So nearly a full lap René Rast has got on those guys, so that's really getting quite close. Menezes in the Alpine number 36 car is 1 minute 23 up the road on René Rast, and that's only going to grow while Rast is in the pits, so it's going to be more like a 2.5 minute gap Menezes is going to have over the rest.
Well, Kuiper Hoffmann has been looking at the AccuWeather satellite, and apparently there is a nasty blob of rain currently crossing Ireland and marching pretty sharpish east. So whether that's just stirring the pot a little bit, or whether that is genuinely a concern, the teams don't think so far, and they'll have the top of the range weather meters. They'll know exactly where the rain is, where it's coming from, how fast it's approaching. And so far, none of the teams here seem to be concerned. I think we're going to get away with this one without any more rain. But now we've got an interesting dynamic. The 6th Toyota, Mike Conway, has got the number 1 Porsche right on its tail. The number 1 Porsche having pitted a little bit earlier on, of course. The Beechdine Aston has just gone into the box. There's the leader, inverted commas, of the race, Sebastian Buemi. Here's the radio.
Tires are coming off. It's going to be not easy to stint.
It's going to not be easy to what? I didn't quite get that.
No, I didn't hear it.
That could be the most critical thing in the race, and we couldn't really hear it. So Buemi, something at Toyota is not going to be easy. The whole race, I can believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough fight from here. 5 hours, 34 minutes to go. Buemi's pushing like crazy. I wonder whether he's actually complaining whether the next stint's going to be hard, because he does. I think Buemi will be staying in for at least one more. So
he's done 3 already, hasn't he?
He'll be staying in for another. They were quadding through the night. I'd be surprised to see him come out. There's no reason to think that they're not going to quad stint now to the end.
And do we think this stint, the last one before he changes driver, do you think this is going to be a 13 lap or a 14 lap?
I think they're just consistently banging in the 14s now. I think the only reason they did what they did was to just get them split, so that it didn't matter which order they came into the box in. So they didn't want to lose time. We saw them do that early in the race too. The Porsche number 2 is in. Mark Lieb Rick gives us his first stop of his stint. Yeah, I think that was just to give us the split between the cars and make sure that they had the opportunity, the best opportunity, to get out cleanly from the pit box.
Punishlessness has obviously got a clearer radio transmission than we have on Twitter. He says the tyres are coming off That's what Boemi says. Now, what he's saying in that is not literally, not physically, in the where. The where is going. So they
Which
may
isn't
need...
a surprise considering how quickly Boemi's gone across this stint. You know, he has pushed very, very hard. Conway now 34 seconds back from him. Wait for Conway to come through so that we get an update on that gap. But yeah, I mean, to have gone 34 seconds across a stint quicker than Conway, you'd expect him to have taken quite some life out of the tyres. So the number 6 car now comes across the line. That's Conway going through to break the beam. Is he going to get out ahead of...
Yeah, he'll do that. He'll do that. The Porsche's still going to be going down the pit lane.
33.
Yellow flag.
Lieb does make it out the pit lane.
Double yellow flag.
Lieb.
And that's why.
50 Corvette Labra car.
Oh, that's a carbon copy.
Long way off.
That is a carbon copy, by the look of it, of what Jean-Luc Chatin did in the warm-up this morning. Yesterday morning, I should say. That's Yutaka Yamagishi.
I think Lieb's made it out in front of Conway. And then, yeah, 32.3 back. So there it is.
Not quite.
He's got him on the outlap.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've got a TV interview.
It's... Oh, big stack in the middle of the corner, though. And into the wall.
Yeah, just into the wall.
That's not too bad, actually.
No, not so bad. Tank tape and tyre wraps, that will be back out.
Well, let's go down to Gert in the pits.
Of the car, and which is mounted with 2 strings. One of the strings was broke when we had to replace it.
There are theories that you're using this 7 car now as a test lab for the 8 car. Is that correct?
Yeah, what we can usefully try, we do.
Okay, thank you.
Well, unfortunately, a very brief word there from Dr. Ulrich himself. So not giving away anything either, which is good.
Well, reinforcing what we've been saying, that, you know, they are using the number 7 to prove out theories for the 8, and it's the only sensible thing for those guys to do now. But 8's far from out of this race. Just looking now at the gaps where we are, so 8 has lost a little bit of time on his in-lap last time round. He's now in the pits, Loic Duval, so he is getting just fuel.
LMP1 leader still Toyota, first and second. 34.3 seconds is the gap. Lieb is only 0.9 of a second away from Conway now, though. So the battle.
How Conway got past Lieb, because I suspect that was down onto the Mulsanne, and it would have been a very tight run.
It might even have been at turn 1, you know. They might have just got it by a metre or so.
Yeah.
It's a shame we didn't really get to see Mark Lieb leaving the pits, because I don't think there was much in that at all coming out of the pits.
There wasn't. That was good work by the Porsche guys, though, because it was a 1:06 stop for them, so it was a quick stop to do that. I think the Porsche guys really on it now, making sure that they're getting as much advantage in the pits as they can.
They're determined, aren't they? They won last year. They know it can be done. They've got the equipment. There is still 1 car running at the front. The other one is still going, by the way, but that water pump failure at night time pretty much taking them out of the running. So they're now the gopher, as it were. And it's 2011 all over again to a certain degree, because the Toyotas, 2x2 hurrah, as we go to the slow zone for that spun Corvette. But it's a difficult one for Porsche, because they're in exactly the same boat as Audi were in 2011. Just 1 car to fight off the twin effort of Toyota. It can be done. Audi did it. Can Porsche do the same? Senna Mark on Twitter. Catherine Legg, Susie Wolff and Pippa Mann in a P1 car for next year. How's that for a top female lineup? You're going to have to take away Susie Wolff, because she doesn't race anymore, of course. She retired at the Race of Champions last year, so she'd probably say no. I'm going to replace Susie Wolff in that lineup with Jamie Chadwick. That is an interesting choice. She's going to have to do some training in a P1 car before she could do that. She has done some single-seater testing. I was a little disappointed to a certain degree that they didn't put her in the 99 Beech Dean Aston, because she's got a good relationship with that team. But then I did have to remind myself, jumping up from a GT4 car to a GT3 car is a massive leap.
Yeah, and there's lots of other quick young females around European motorsport who are more than capable of jumping in one of these cars and doing the job. But we'll see. You know, I think it will be surprised to not see Catherine here. There's lots of opportunities. I think it's fair to say for the right female to market herself to get onto the biggest platform in LMP1.
I can see Sophia Fleuersch being that girl one day.
Yeah, she's absolutely mega, you know, in terms of her pace. And
she could be an Audi driver, she could be a Porsche driver.
She's struggling for funds. You know, she's another one who's scrimping and saving to get the job done. So, yeah, you've only got to have a Google to see what those drivers are and who they are, what they can do, and see if they can get out here on the grid.
Down the straight with the Porsche 919 hybrid. Unfortunately, the picture broke up just as we were about to listen to the engine. But the Toyotas are leading. And Conway, on the last lap, because of the slow zone, they were in the 4 minutes mark. But Conway is pulling away quite rapidly from Mark Lieb. He's once again looked after his car in the last stint. And now that they've gained a bit of ground, Porsche, in the pit stops, his basic message is, get away from him.
The Buemi gap isn't going out, which I find strange. I thought that Buemi was going to continue pushing on, but he was complaining about the tyres there. Either Conway should be going back to him, or Buemi should still be pulling away, one or other, but it just seems to have neutralised itself, this 32-second gap.
Is there a chance he physically can't with the tyres the way they are?
Yeah, but then you'd expect Conway to be gaining on him because Conway hasn't taken that out of the tyres.
He only took 0.4 of a second in the first sector and half a second now in the second sector, so that's improvement, but it doesn't really indicate that Buemi's having major issues with the tyres. That just says traffic more than anything else. So he's gained, but it's not a massive enough gain for the number 5 crew to be worried. So Conway still leading, 32 seconds ahead. 4.4 seconds down the road now. You just saw him coming into the picture is Mark Lieb in the Porsche. So the Toyota boys are desperate to get away. And Mike Conway is the man to do that. He seems to be captain aggressive around this circuit. Not with other drivers, but at this circuit. He is attacking every single corner.
Dirk Muller in the Ford in the GT Pro car is taking, just I say that, he doesn't take a chunk of time out of Manicelli in the Ferrari, but he had been taking big chunks of time out of Manicelli. He's got the gap down to around 20 seconds now, so he's taken 12 seconds out of that in the last 20 minutes.
It's 17.6 now, and he's gone 7/10 quicker in the first sector.
Yeah, he's trying
and
very, very hard.
1.2 in the second.
Yeah,
Ford aren't out of this yet.
No, he's taken an awful lot, a lot of time out with slow zones now as we go through the Porsche curves. Trying to understand what that's about. That's recovering that Corvette still, isn't it?
So the gap has come down to 17.4 in the battle between Ferrari and Ford for the GT Pro honours. At the rate of, well, what's it likely to be now? You gained 1.2, he gained 7/10 of a second. That could be 2 seconds.
By the end of the stint, he could be on him. It just depends why Manicelli's struggling in the Ferrari.
Possibly being bulked by cars lapping him?
Not really. I mean, we're looking at it. It's 4 seconds off on the last lap. I don't really understand why that would be. They're on absolutely equal strategy, equal on tyres, equal on fuel load. That is a straight race to the end. That was in effect reset on 0 for everybody on at the 6-hour point. So let's see what Dirk Muller does. I think maybe he's just fired up after that penalty. Really wants to get back on terms, and they know they need to push the Ferrari. They're both new cars this year, and they've both had their fair share of reliability woes so far. The Ford probably slightly stronger in terms of reliability so far than the Ferrari. Ferrari have had various engine issues so far during their campaign, and you know, as we've seen, the AF Corsa cars, the 51 and 71, both out of this race.
Well, the 50 Corvette has come into the pits, so I'm not entirely sure why we now have slow zones at the same spot. Maybe there was oil down there?
I think they're cleaning out. The Manitou was still out there, so there was definitely some work to be done. Whether when he's clattered the barriers, they've actually bent the barrier and they're doing some repair work there.
Yeah, possible, I suppose.
I think that's one of the areas where they've got these new safer barriers installed. I don't know how they go about repairing the safer barriers. The barriers that are double layer that give as the car goes in, much like a tyre wall, but safer than a tyre wall in that the car can't get caught up in them, and easier to replace if they are damaged.
Here's an interesting question, and one for you, Giles, because obviously being a club racer yourself and being a team boss at Le Mans in the past, you know the answer to this one more than most. Philip Holzerfeld wants to know What can I do to get myself in a race car at Le Mans in 2024? Sim racing? Local class racing? Should I move to Europe from South Africa? What would you do?
Sim racers have been here and done it. I think Darren Cox's program with GTA Academy is now long gone. That won't be back in a hurry. There are others talking of doing similar things, but sim racing is always a good place to start. You learn an awful lot. You learn some racecraft, you learn circuits, and you do, if you're using them properly, learn about chassis changes and dynamics. But ultimately, you've got to have some deep pockets. Talent alone will not get you here, and you've got to put yourself in front of everybody that you can at every opportunity, and really sell yourself every single day to be here. But unless you've probably got £1 million to invest in your career, unless you're Jan Mardenborough and you're going to come through the GTA Academy, then it's not really realistic to think you're going to make it.
I was hoping somebody would ask the question that's about to be asked via Twitter. Reynard Gelderblom asks, apart from Nico Hulkenberg, has anyone ever won overall on their debut? I knew somebody might ask that question, so I prepared it. I prepared it in advance because Earl Bamber is one of those.
Correct.
Earl Bamber, his teammate, he is sharing the same car. But there were quite a few beforehand. The first one to win on their debut, obviously, Andre Lagache and René Léonard, the drivers who won the very first. You had to wait 5 years before Bernard Rubin and Wolf Bonato did it in the Bentley. Fantastic combination, those two. Luigi Cinetti was next in 32. Tazio Nuvolari, 1933. One of the greatest racing drivers the world has ever seen, possibly even the greatest ever. Philippe Étincelin, a year later in 35, did it. Luis Fontes in 35, he did it. Jean-Pierre Vimille in 37. Peter Walker in 51. Fritz Rice and Hermann Lang in 1952. Ivor Bude in the Jaguar alongside Mike Hawthorne in 1955, he did it. 1967, A.J. Foyt. A.J. Foyt won on his debut at the Le Mans 24 Hours. Hurley Haywood in 1977. Klaus Ludwig in 1979. He won on his debut. So too did another one of our British heroes, Andy Wallace, in 1988. He won on his debut in fine style in the Jaguar. Christophe Bouchou and Eric Ellery in 1993 in the Peugeot. They won on their debut. The youngest ever winner at the Le Mans 24 Hour, Alexander Wurz. He won on his debut in 1996. Somebody called Tom Christensen won on his debut as well. 1997, his very first win out of the 9 that eventually he achieved. And the last one in that list, in 1998 in the Porsche, Laurent Aiello.
Just looking at car 36, Menezes is under investigation for a pit stop infringement. I don't know what that would be. That last stop looked pretty clean other than the issue with the gun. It may be that they brought the second gun out over the line without returning the other one. I do think the rules clearly state you're only allowed one gun over the line, so I suspect we're going to see a penalty for 36, which is what we were talking about after the stop. It just looked clunky, it didn't look drilled. I'm quite sure they would have drilled that stop, so I suspect we're about to see a penalty for 36, and it will be down to having two wheel guns over the line.
That's a fatigue issue, isn't it? I don't think that's a skill issue.
Exactly, no, it is. It's just you get. That's when you're really tested. You're really tested when these things come up, when that problem happens. You know, if you're just doing the routine, it's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. You just get into that routine. When that routine's broken, that's when you see the problems. You know, if you see a car go in the wall, that's the point where, okay, right, hang on, well, and things can get left loose, things don't get done, the correct checks don't happen. And we saw that with the Tillier car. They were obviously panicking to get that car out, and ultimately they missed something that was a car retiring issue, despite the fact you've driven the car back from the scene of the accident.
Well, if you're watching the GTE Pro battle as closely as I know many of you are, it's going to get very interesting very quickly. Dirk Muller,
14 seconds.
Dirk Muller has dropped that gap from 24 seconds 4 laps ago to just 14. He's taking, on average, 2.5 seconds per lap out of Malucelli's lead. Ferrari are going to be sweating very quickly.
Equally, Conway's taking time out of the lead gap, so Conway now got that gap up to 7.5 seconds. So our key battles now really are the LMP1 battle and the GTE Pro battle.
Of course, there's a very
on-track.
There's a very good chance that could become the LMP2 battle as well now if Menezes gets that penalty.
Yeah, I mean, if Menezes gets that penalty, Johnny Kane's now fairly well established in third. Shaitar's now 8.4 behind Johnny, and that's going to be down to driver rotation. This is the thing with LMP2. The most critical thing in P2 is how your silver driver goes. You know, we've got Nick Leventis going into the Straka. Nick had made a few mistakes over the years, but if he's driving the best he's ever driven, I would say. So I'd be wise to probably put your money on that Gibson. The mistakes seem to have gone from his driving. He used to make them regularly, but you know, he's had the consistency of Danny and Johnny with him now for, what is it now? Is it this the 9th year?
9 years, yeah.
And yeah, they've got the consistency. They've worked with him a lot. He spends an awful lot of time driving Formula Renault 3.5 cars to make sure he's got that consistency and pace across a stint. So you know, I think let's see, but my money there would be on the Gibson of the Straka Racing crew to sustain that third place on the podium, given good reliability.
This is year 10.
5 good laps for the 68, that's what they're after. So
yeah, the gap's down to 12.4 now.
But Dirk being pushed to do more.
I was just going to say, with Straka, it's their 10th year since they were founded in 2007, and it's their 9th appearance at Le Mans, I believe.
Yeah, I remember their first Brit Car 24-hour race, which I was competing in when they had the BMW M3, one of the ex-IMSA cars, old GT2 BMW V8 GTR, and you know, they very quickly came here and got the job done. You know, they're past victors here. Let's not forget that.
Am I right in thinking that was a race where you competed against some Top Gear people?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, no, there were the Top Gear clowns were there.
And I bet that was irritating at times, when, particularly on track.
Yeah, no, they struggled, bless them. But,
that's so polite.
I can't say much because that year we were running. I was team managing a team that wasn't quite up to standard. A team of volunteers that we struggled an awful lot through the night, and I've still got the scars to prove it from changing alternators myself because Cheek Mechanic refused to do it.
Wow. Okay, that's what that is. I did wonder. So the Ford 68 is pushing on big time. The gap is down to 12 seconds now. As he comes across the line again, that gap's going to decrease again. There's Malucelli over the line, and he's done a 3:57.0. Muller behind is in 3:53s at the moment. This is a massive, massive gap that has come down to a very, very small one. The gap's down to 10.0. He's just on a 3:52.9. Ford are not giving up at all. If anything, they are throwing everything by the kitchen sink at Ferrari.
Malucelli just doesn't seem to have an answer. I don't know whether they want to race it, because let's face it, catching him is one thing, passing him is another. But Malucelli just driving the thing very well consistently and not responding to the pressure coming from behind.
How long has he been in the car? If this is his third stint.
Malucelli and Muller went in at the same time. No, this is not their third stint.
So this is interesting, because you might want to think straight away, well, what about getting Fisico in the car?
Yeah.
But it's not right for the strategy. They might just have to let them go.
It's down to driver time as well,
yeah,
making sure that everything works in terms of that. But let's see. I mean, Giancarlo came out the car just as we came on shift. We've been on now for nearly 4 hours. So it is about that sort of time where you would be thinking he'll certainly be being woken up and spoken to about, right, you know, we think we're going to put you in next. But let's see. Yeah, the AF guys have done a fantastic. Sorry, the Risi guys have done a fantastic job so far. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So just keep going round. Catching them is one thing, passing them is another.
The Porsche goes, oh, we've had a collision. That's the two American cars, the Krone Racing and the Michael Shank Racing
car. What happened there?
I want to see how that happened again, because it looks as if they're just battling for position. Oh, no.
For a change.
Three American cars all together, and for once, the ESM doesn't get involved in it.
Yeah, and poor old Tracy Krone, a victim, because Tracy's, yeah, he's had a few issues so far, but yeah, no, that car being assaulted, no shadow of a doubt about that.
That was under braking. John Pugh just losing the back end of the car and it veering off to the left. And, well, poor Tracy Crone. Completely blameless in that one. Down to the Mulsanne. We ride on board with the Ford. I hope we stay with this one, actually. We're going to get radio from Murphy, though. No, we're not. I was disappointed. I was hoping we could stay on board all the way down the run to the Indianapolis.
10 seconds, sir. Good job, buddy. 10 seconds. 4 more laps.
Come on, buddy. Come on, come on.
Pushed to do it, isn't he? He can do it. He will do it. So the investigation on car 40 and 49 underway. I'm just still waiting for news on Menezes car 36, our P2 leaders pit stop potential penalty. I suspect that will be coming shortly. I suspect there's a conversation going on between team manager and the ACO officials at the moment about severity of penalty, but that one should be relatively minor. It wasn't a safety offence. They weren't going to hurt anybody with that.
Well, the gap is 9.9 thanks to traffic. 9.5, I should say, sorry, thanks to traffic, because he's actually losing time to Malicelli on this lap because of the traffic. There's Anthony Davidson, just consulting with the Toyota squad. How are things looking? Can we win this? The answer at the moment is, you certainly can, mate. And there's another man who's had a long, long career in motor racing with everything but the jewel in the crown. Formula One didn't really do him any favours, despite the fact he was better than any Formula One car he was ever given, in my personal opinion. But the Le Mans 24 Hours has been reasonably kind to Anthony Davidson, but it's never given him the victory he deserves. And what an obscure career Anthony Davidson has had at Le Mans. It's almost in two halves, really. 2003, he got the Velox ProDrive Ferrari GTS role. That was in the middle of him being a test driver for BAR Honda. He also raced, of course, with Super Aguri in the 2007 and 8 seasons. Did 2 races for BAR. Did one for Minardi. No, sorry, he did 1 race for BAR. That was the 2005 Malaysian Grand Prix, if memory serves me correctly. And then he did 1 race in Hungary, 2002 for Minardi. He is the World Endurance Champion from 2014, so he knows what he's doing. He was one of the lead drivers in the Aston Martin Lola project in 2009, another LMP1 team, and he was the Peugeot man for 2 years. So it was 2012 that Toyota made their debut in the Le Mans 24 Hours with this project, not 2013. I'll correct myself now, because Davidson, this is his 5th campaign at the Le Mans 24 Hours with Toyota. And surely, with his colleague, Sebastian Buemi, and their other man, Kazuki Nakajima, at the wheel, this time, they could do it. They really could do it. We're on board with the Porsche. Mark Lieb, 3.4 seconds back, as into the pits comes the number 40 Krone car. And I would not be surprised if the Michael Shank Racing car is not far behind it. Well, into the pits comes the ESM, the number 31. So it's still Toyota's 1 and 2. 25 seconds is the gap. Conway just steadily closing up on car number 5. There's the number 2 Porsche, going with him in terms of lap times. The leading car, Buemi, is on 3:28. Conway and Jarvis in the Audi now are on 3:26s. Into the pits comes the Michael Shank Racing car, right on cue. After that little tangle with the Chrome car. And then into the pit, Lieb is the fastest. There he is, you're looking at him. 3:25.2. Down the straight. See, the car's slowing very early for the chicane there, the Porsche. They're just being a little bit conservative, perhaps, because normally during an aggressive part of the race, you'd be braking about 150, 100 metres before the corner. But he's easing off the throttle a good 250 metres before the chicane. Ah, that'll be it. Yep, fuel saving.
Lift and coast. They're already working the strategy towards the end of the race. They're already thinking about it.
Yep, he's done it again.
Yeah, lift and coast. That's that the engineers have worked out what they need to do to save a pit stop. And the pace is there to do it. So this is some clever strategy by the Porsche boys, and that says to me they're pretty confident.
The Monday Missile, just over 5 hours to go. The number 1 Porsche in 29th and a few laps behind. Any predictions on where they might finish?
No, but the sums I did do is that they're going to be eligible for points. they're going to make the cut. So no, I wouldn't like to guess where they're going to end up. But if they carry on not losing ground to the number 5 or to the winner, whoever the winner may be, then they're gonna get their WEC points.
And am I right
and that's
in
a really important thing.
Am I right in thinking they're actually 6th in class? They are now ahead of the Rebellions.
And it's a double points, so it's for them it's absolutely critical to carry on. It might be the difference at the end of the year between World Championships or not, both for the manufacturer and for the team themselves.
And that, of course, is the reigning World Endurance Championship winning car, driven by Timo Bernhardt, Mark Webber and Brendan Hartley. So they've got every reason to push. They've got every reason to bank home the points. They've got every reason not to give up. There are still 50 drivers, 150 drivers, 50 cars still running this race. Mike Conway, 5.3 ahead of Mark Lieb in the leading Porsche in the battle, 3rd position overall. The helicopters are starting to fly in overhead again now. People want to get here in time for the finish, and what a finish they're going to see.
I've just been outside, and actually it's lovely. It's a lovely fresh morning. It's not too hot. The sun is relatively warm, and I suspect by midday it's going to be very warm. But no, the circuit now well rubbered in, and this is the best of the conditions these guys are going to get in terms of visibility and everything else. I think we've seen the fastest time has been set earlier this morning. I'd be surprised to see anyone go faster now, but yeah, clear run to the end by the looks of it.
Toyota 1 and 2. The gap is 22.7 seconds. As into the pits comes the SRT 41, the Garage 56 entry. So they're still ticking over. Again, I've not seen them spin. I've not seen them hit anything. I've not seen them blocking anybody stupidly.
Just a solid run.
That's exactly what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Full credit to everyone in that crew. From Frederick to Christophe to Jean-Bernard, all 3 of the drivers, all of the mechanics, they've been absolutely spot on. They're not here to win, they're here to finish, and they're doing so competitively.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the gap now into the Audi number 8, we were getting quite excited that they might be able to pull something out of the bag. They're still setting fastest LMP1 times, but they just don't seem to be able to claw that back. I kind of said, we'll look in an hour at the 6-hour point as to where they were, and frankly they haven't closed the gap enough. I would have thought by now they'd be on the lead lap, but they're actually ebbing and flowing between 1 and 2 laps down on the timing screen based on what's going on where they are on circuit. So you know, Jarvis not being able to take the time out of the lead cars, the Audi just not got the pace.
Jeff GMJ, I should say, on Twitter says, what year did chicanes get added to the Mulsanne straight? I can help you with that one. That's 1990. And what speed was possible before they were added? Now, that is very much under debate, because there are some people who can claim they were pushing cars at 235. Some that say you could even stretch it to 240, which is mind-blowing. That is just absolutely insanity, if you ask me. But as pure as it is to go from Terre Rouge all the way to Mulsanne without chicanes, we've seen far too many incidents in the past, far too many problems, and far too many people who are sadly no longer with us to attest to the fact we needed to put those chicanes in. Yeah,
absolutely. Just looking at the graphic on the screen now, so we've got the Toyota versus the Porsche, the gap down to 3 seconds between Lieb and Conway. And just interesting to see the way those guys are again delivering the power and how that gap changes depending where they are on the straight. The Audi quicker onto the straight with its Quattro system, deploying its energy through the front wheels, while the Porsche is deploying its energy through the back, and yeah, really romping away at the end of the straight. Here we go, on board with the number 2. 3 seconds now the gap, so Conway's got away a bit. That'll be a bit of traffic somewhere along the line. There is Conway coming up onto the back of one of the Fords through the Porsche curves. He can get away with ducking through there, but what that's going to mean with that 3-second gap is that we're going to see Lieb get stuck behind him through the bit where you can't really overtake. This section here, we see Prototype going around the outside. I think that, I'm not used to the fact there's so much more runoff there than there used to be, and they couldn't do it.
He didn't get held up. He managed to wait.
He did manage to just wait through. I don't know whether he bided his time there. I think at the split we're going to see that he did lose a bit of time compared to 1.8.
Oh, I think he's
took time
right
out
on
of him. Yeah.
He's right on him.
Took time out of him. 1.8.
So that was smart thinking there. and he's going to get past the Greaves-Ligier, no problem. The gap is down to a second, by a second. It's down to 1.8 now.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the gap between Buemi and Conway, the two Toyotas, is down to, well, it was down to 20.
Seconds.
It was down to 22, but you've got to take into account that Buemi has just been given the hurry up, and Conway's just lost about 2-3 seconds in the traffic. So at the rate of knots he was going, though, Conway was taking about 2.5 seconds per lap out of Buemi in the lead. So maybe Buemi saying those tyres are falling off. Again, he's starting to struggle a little bit. But the thing is, if your tyres are falling off, you can't just dive for the pits and get a new set. You've got to work to the programme. So you've just got to make the tyres last as long as you physically can.
As we've seen with the lift and coast that's going on at the moment, it is as much about fuel numbers as anything else. They need to make sure that they're on the money in terms of fuel numbers and bringing the car home on the minimum number of stops. So you might sacrifice a little on ultimate performance, but bear in mind you're losing 1 minute and 10 seconds every time you bring that car through the pit lane as a minimum without taking tyres.
We're on lap 300 of the Le Mans 24 hours. There are 5 hours to go, and the gap from first to third, I can't believe I'm about to say this. The gap between first and third is 27 seconds. Now, in the past, that would be 27 laps. It's 27 seconds from first to third. I love the Le Mans 24